What do you do when relatives show up on your doorstep on New Year's Eve without an invitation? One woman decided not to play nice and laid down a condition that shocked even her husband. But he had no idea what kind of surprise his wife had prepared for him and why his interference would become the biggest mistake of that night. Enjoy listening. The living room was flooded with the glow of New Year's string lights, and in that flickering half-light stood 6 people in heavy coats, their breath still uneven after climbing the stairs. Vivian, the mother-in-law in a mink coat, was already holding out a huge bag with foil sticking out of it. A layered salad, as would soon become clear. Claire stood at the door, which was open only on the chain, wearing a black dress and bright red lipstick, staring at the crowd as if she were seeing complete strangers. "Why exactly should I feed you?" she said crisply, without a trace of doubt in her voice. "Entry is $50 per person, or you can go back where you came from." Vivian froze with the bag stretched out in her hands. Her mouth fell open, and Nathan, Claire's husband, burst out of the room, his face red with outrage. "Have you lost your mind?" he shouted. "Open the door right now. I invited them." He reached for the chain, but Claire had already turned toward him, blocking the way. Her hand rested on the doorframe, and there was such determination in that gesture that Nathan froze for a moment. But it had all started 3 days earlier. On Thursday, December 28th, the Verizon mobile store on Main Street had turned into a branch of hell. Claire had been standing behind the counter for 6 hours straight. Her legs were aching so badly it felt like they might just give out. In front of her was a tight line of 15 people, each convinced their problem was the most important thing in the world. "Miss, my phone won't turn on." An elderly man jabbed at the screen of a shattered smartphone with such force it looked like he was trying to punch straight through it. "You set something up for me here yesterday, and now everything's broken." Claire took a deep breath and switched on her professional smile, the one that already made her jaw ache. "I wasn't working yesterday. Let's see what the issue is." She took the phone. The screen was a spider web of cracks. The battery was swollen so badly the back cover had popped off. How do people even manage to destroy electronics like this? "You see, the battery is damaged. It needs to be replaced, but with a screen like this—" "So you say you weren't working yesterday," the man snapped, twitching with anger. "But they told me there was a girl here, so fix it. I'm paying money. Your warranty expired 2 years ago. The repair will cost $80. "Are you out of your damn mind?" The man grabbed his phone and stormed out, muttering under his breath about scammers and crooked stores. Next was a woman around 45, with pretensions of elegance, a shearling coat with a leopard print and gold earrings the size of a quarter. "I need the best plan you've got. Unlimited internet, unlimited calls, and cheap, like $30 max." Claire opened the price list and showed her the options. The woman grimaced as if she were being forced to drink castor oil. "This is all expensive? What is this? Don't you have any promotions?" They promised them on TV. "The promotion applies with annual payment. I need monthly and cheaper." 20 minutes of explanations later, the woman left with nothing, tossing over her shoulder, "You people only care about ripping money out of customers. You don't give a damn about anyone." By 6 in the evening, Claire's voice was hoarse from endless explanations about plans, gigabytes, and why you can't install apps on a phone released in 2010. Her manager, Margaret, walked through the sales floor, glanced at the line, and waved her hand tiredly. "Hang in there, Claire. 3 more days until New Year's, then you'll rest." Easy for her to say. In those 3 days, Claire still had grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning, and the endless calls from Vivian with questions. "Did you remember to buy this? Are you going to have that?" At home, Claire collapsed onto the couch and lay there for 5 minutes, staring at the ceiling. Then she kicked off her shoes, red marks from the heels circled her ankles, and dragged herself to the kitchen. Nathan hadn't come back yet. He worked as a mechanic at an auto shop. His shift ran until 8. Claire took out a notebook and started planning the menu. She had been saving money for this holiday for 6 months, $70 every month. $430 lay in an envelope in the dresser, tucked between the bed linens. Money she hadn't spent on a new jacket, on makeup, or on those boots she'd fallen in love with back in October. All for one evening. An evening for the two of them. Claire had been dreaming about it since summer. She imagined setting the table with a white tablecloth, lighting candles, turning on soft music. There would be shrimp, tiger shrimp, $12 a pound. She had seen them at Whole Foods, salmon steaks baked with lemon and herbs, prosciutto, real Italian, glasses of good champagne, not that cheap garbage, maybe even fondue. She'd wanted to try it for so long. She'd seen it in movies, those Western romantic dramas they played on Hallmark. People there celebrated New Year's not at tables overloaded with salads, but elegantly, beautifully, with seafood, wine, and conversations about everything in the world. Without potato salad drowning in mayonnaise, without that eternal layered salad that made the entire apartment smell for 3 days afterward. 3 years ago, when she and Nathan got married, Claire thought real life was about to begin. Their life. But every holiday turned into the same performance. Vivian would arrive, along with her sister Dorothy. Sometimes other relatives came too, and the apartment would fill with voices, demands, and other people's coats crowding the rack. Claire would wash dishes until 1 in the morning and wonder when they would finally have a holiday of their own. This year, she had made up her mind. Back in September, she said it to Nathan over breakfast. "Let's celebrate New Year's just the two of us, you and me." He had nodded without looking up from his phone. Sure. And Claire had believed him. Now she sat in the kitchen, carefully writing neat lines in her notebook. Shrimp, 2 pounds, $24. Salmon steaks, 1.5 pounds, $30. Prosciutto, 300 grams, $18. The numbers formed a pleasant picture. There was even room for a bottle of good wine and the ingredients for fondue. The key turned in the lock. Nathan came in, shrugging off his jacket. He smelled of motor oil and cold air. "Hey!" He kissed Claire on the top of her head and opened the fridge. "What's for dinner?" "Heat up the buckwheat with the cutlets. I cooked yesterday." Nathan pulled out the container, put it in the microwave, sat down across from her, scrolling on his phone. He ate in silence, poking at the screen with his finger, occasionally smirking at something. "Nathan, look." Claire turned the notebook toward him. "I made a menu for the holiday. I want to try something new." He didn't look up. "I'll get shrimp, salmon. Can you imagine how beautiful it'll be?" "Fine." Claire bit her lip, wanting to add something else. But at that moment Nathan set his fork aside and said, still looking at his phone, "By the way, Mom asked what time we're meeting them." Claire froze over the notebook, the pencil hanging in midair. "Meeting who?" "Well, Mom, Aunt Dorothy, Uncle Victor. Sean and Kristen are coming too. About 6 people total." Her heart dropped. Claire slowly put the pencil down. "Nathan, we agreed. Just the two of us. Remember? I asked you in September. You said yes." He finally looked up, mild confusion on his face. "Claire, it's family. I can't just ditch them like that. Mom waits all year for us to get together." "But I've been saving for 6 months." Claire's voice jumped up an octave. "I planned this evening for us." "So we'll celebrate." Nathan shrugged and went back to his phone. "Why are you getting so worked up? You'll just buy a bit more food, that's all. Mom said she'll bring her layered salad, by the way. You like it." "I don't like layered salad. You do." "Well, great then. So we'll have it." Claire looked at him, at this man she had lived with for 3 years, and suddenly felt something inside her go cold. He didn't understand. He didn't see that she hadn't just been planning a menu, she'd been dreaming. That she had been saving from every paycheck, denying herself little things. That she wanted, just once, to feel not like a cook for his relatives, but like a wife. "Nathan, I was counting on 2 people. I have $430. That's not enough for 8. He finally put his phone down and sighed with mild irritation. Claire, it's family, not strangers. What, you want my mother to spend New Year's alone? She's 62, she's worked her whole life, and you seriously expect me to tell her, sorry, Mom, we've got plans? That's not what I'm saying. What do you mean, just? His voice hardened. You just don't want to accept my family. That's kind of petty, don't you think? Claire opened her mouth to argue, but the words stuck in her throat. Nathan had already stood up and carried his plate to the sink. All right, stop making a scene. You'll cook like usual. Everything will be fine. Mom's coming at 6. They won't stay long, maybe 3 hours, then they'll leave. 3 hours. Not long. Claire stared out the window, where a snowstorm was raging outside the glass. Her chest burned, as if she'd swallowed something sharp. She didn't argue anymore, just closed the notebook and went into the bedroom. She lay down on the bed, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. From the other room came the sound of the TV. Nathan had turned on some action movie. Claire lay there thinking that just minutes ago she'd been happy, imagining shrimp, candles, music. And now all of it had turned into yet another family dinner with Vivian and her endless stories about how food had been better back in the Reagan years. From somewhere deep in her memory surfaced a phrase her mother had once said long before the wedding. Claire, if a man doesn't protect you from his family, he won't protect you from anything. Back then, Claire had brushed it off. Nathan seemed like her support, reliable, serious. He earned decent money, didn't go on drinking binges like some of the guys in their neighborhood. He worked honestly, came straight home, didn't hang around clubs. But now, lying in the dark, she suddenly understood. He had never chosen her. Not once. When Vivian hinted that Claire cooked wrong, Nathan stayed silent. When, on March 8th, her mother-in-law gave her a dust rag and said, "You'll need it. You're the homemaker." Nathan smirked. Mom's just joking. When Claire asked him to help clean before guests came over, he brushed her off. My back hurts. I've been in the garage all day. Yet somehow his back stopped hurting whenever he needed to go to his mother's place to change a light bulb or help move furniture. Claire turned onto her side, pulling her knees up to her chest. Her dreams were still there in the notebook. Neat, careful lines. Shrimp, salmon, prosciutto, candles, music. All of it now seemed ridiculous and naive. She closed her eyes and tried to imagine tomorrow. The store, the lines, the pushing and shoving. A cart filled with the cheapest things. Imitation crab instead of shrimp, canned tuna instead of salmon, no prosciutto at all. Potato salad with mayonnaise, chicken in the oven, Vivian's layered salad. Then cooking until night, piles of dishes, an aching back. Nathan would be lying on the couch watching TV. Vivian would pace around the kitchen, peering into pots. Did you get tomatoes for the salad? And what kind of mayo did you buy? I'd use Hellmann's. It's richer, tastes better. You're young, you wouldn't understand. Dorothy would sit in the living room flipping through a magazine and occasionally shout, "Claire, can I get some tea? Stronger, please." Claire would run back and forth between the kitchen and the living room, serving, clearing, smiling. And at midnight, when the clock struck, she would raise a glass and clink it with Nathan, who wouldn't even look her in the eyes because he'd be hugging his mother. Tears rose in her throat, but Claire swallowed them down. There was no time to cry. Tomorrow was a work day, the day after that grocery shopping. On the 30th, cooking. Everything according to plan. Just not her plan anymore. She got up, went to the dresser, took out the envelope with the money, and counted it. $430, 7 months of saving, 7 months of giving up small pleasures. Claire put the envelope back and quietly, so Nathan wouldn't hear, went to the bathroom. She looked at herself in the mirror. Pale face, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled into a messy bun. "It's fine," she whispered to her reflection. "You'll put up with it a little longer." only she didn't really know why she was putting up with it at all. The morning of December 29th began with Claire waking up before her alarm. The dreams had been heavy and tangled. Either she was setting a table for 100 people, or running through an endless store where every price tag showed numbers with 3 zeros. Nathan had already left for work, leaving a dirty coffee mug on the table. Claire automatically rinsed it, set it to dry, and sat down at the table with her notebook. She had to recalculate everything from scratch. 8 people. Vivian. Dorothy with her husband Victor. Nephew Sean with his girlfriend Kristen. Plus her and Nathan. 8 mouths, 8 plates, 8 portions of every dish. Claire started calculating, and with every number, the dream of shrimp and prosciutto melted away like snow in March. Tiger shrimp, 2 pounds for 2 people, turned into 8 people and nearly $50. Salmon, 3 pounds of steaks, another $60. Prosciutto wasn't even worth considering. 300 grams for a group was laughable, and a full kilo would run about $60. Claire set the pencil aside and rubbed her temples. Her head was splitting. $430. If she bought shrimp and salmon, she'd have $320 left. She still needed salads: potato salad, layered salad, Caesar, coleslaw. That was another $40 for ingredients if she bought decent products. A main dish, chicken or something meat-based, another $30. Appetizers, cheese, sausage, vegetables, $20. Alcohol, champagne and wine, plus something stronger for Victor, who wouldn't sit at the table without whiskey, at least $50. Dessert, a cake or pastries, $15. Total, $475, and she had $430. Claire clenched her teeth. So no shrimp, no salmon, no prosciutto. She opened a new page and started writing a different list. Realistic, budget-friendly, the kind that made her want to howl. Potato salad, potatoes, carrots, eggs, peas, imitation crab, not real crab, $8. Layered salad, herring, potatoes, carrots, beets, eggs, onion, $6. Coleslaw, cabbage, beets, carrots, peas, cucumbers, $4. Caesar, chicken, lettuce, cherry tomatoes, croutons, cheese, dressing, $7. Oven-baked chicken, 2 whole chickens, $9. Canned tuna, baked, 2 pieces, $12. Appetizers, sausage, cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers, olives, $20. Alcohol, champagne, 3 bottles of cheap stuff, wine, 2 mid-range bottles, whiskey, 2 bottles, $35, cake, $10, bread, sauces, spices, fruit, $15, total, $126. Claire stared at the number, $126 instead of $430. A budget holiday instead of a beautiful one. Imitation crab instead of shrimp, canned tuna instead of salmon, cheap champagne instead of good. She snapped the notebook shut and poured herself some coffee. Her hands were shaking. Maybe she should ask Nathan to chip in. He earned more, $580 a week compared to her $370. Let him give at least $100. Then she could buy shrimp, at least that. That evening, when Nathan came home from work, Claire waited until he finished dinner and cautiously began. Nathan, listen, I did the math. For 8 people, my money isn't enough. Can you chip in $100, or at least $50? He was sitting on the couch flipping channels. He didn't even turn around. I don't have extra. How do you not have extra? You got paid last week. Claire, I'm saving for new tires. I'm still $80 short for the full set. I'll get them in January. Claire felt something boil inside her. So you have money for tires, but not for a holiday for your family. Nathan finally turned to her, irritation written all over his face. Claire, don't start. Tires are safety. My winter ones are completely bald. I'm driving on summer tires. It's dangerous. And the holiday? You'll manage. You always do. But I can't set a table for 8 people on my money the way I planned. Then you shouldn't have planned something expensive. He shrugged, as if that settled everything. Make it simpler. Potato salad, layered salad, chicken. They're family, not strangers. They'll understand. Nathan, what does family have to do with it? It's your family, your mother, your aunt. Why should I feed them with my money? Nathan turned off the TV and looked at her with a kind of cold confusion. Whose money should it be then? You're the wife, you're the homemaker. It's your responsibility to set the table. My responsibility is to earn money, to provide for the family. I do my part. And for some reason, you're throwing a tantrum over having to cook dinner. Claire stood in the middle of the room, feeling like the floor was slipping out from under her feet. She spoke slowly. This isn't dinner. This is a New Year's table for 8 people. That's 2 days of cooking. That's a lot of money. And this isn't my family. It's yours. My family means yours too. Or do you consider my mother a stranger? I think that if you invite guests without consulting me, you should at least take on part of the expenses. Nathan stood up, went to the kitchen, pulled a beer out of the fridge. He opened it with a loud pop, took a swig, wiped his mouth with his palm. Listen, I'm tired of arguing with you. I don't have money for a holiday. I have money for tires. If it's so important to you to have something expensive on the table, borrow money from a friend, or ask your parents. To feed your family? Are you serious? Why are you so hung up on my family? Nathan raised his voice. They're relatives, Claire. Close people, not strangers, not neighbors or co-workers. My mother, who raised me alone, worked 2 jobs so I wouldn't lack anything. You want me to tell her, sorry, Mom, Claire and I decided we don't need you for the holidays? That's pretty disgusting, don't you think? Claire was silent. Inside, everything was boiling, but the words stuck in her throat because he had twisted everything so neatly that she was the one who looked guilty. Her, who didn't want to accept his mother. Her, who was being cheap. Her, who was ruining the holiday. That's not what I meant, she said quietly. Then what did you mean? Nathan finished his beer and set the bottle on the table with a dull thud. That my family is a burden? That I don't care about my mother? Say it straight, Claire. I meant that it's hard for me, financially and physically. I work until evening for 3 days straight. Then I cook until night. Then I host guests, smile, serve, clean, and you don't even offer to help. I work, Nathan cut her off. I spend all day under cars. I come home and my back won't straighten. What else am I supposed to do? At least support me emotionally, or chip in money, or tell your mother to bring something. Nathan smirked, and there was something contemptuous in that smirk. Mom is already bringing a layered salad. She's trying. 1 layered salad. And? You want her to pay for groceries too? Her pension is $1,400 a month. She barely has enough to live on. My salary is $1,480 a month and I barely have enough too. Then earn more, Nathan snapped, and Claire flinched. Find a better job if this one doesn't suit you. Is it my fault you're sitting at Verizon for pennies? Claire stood there with her fists clenched, a cold wave running down her spine. There it was. That was how he really saw her. She was the one who earned too little, the one who should be grateful he married her at all. Got it, she forced out. What did you get? Everything. She turned around and went into the bedroom, slammed the door, lay down on the bed with her face in the pillow. Tears choked her, but Claire didn't let them fall. She couldn't. If she started crying, she wouldn't stop. Behind the wall, the TV turned on again. Nathan was watching some show, bursts of laughter and cheerful hosts' voices drifting through. Claire lay in the dark, thinking that yes, she would ask her parents for money. Just not to feed Vivian, but to get out of this apartment, if things went completely wrong. On the morning of December 30th, Claire got up at 6. Nathan was still asleep, sprawled across the entire bed. She got dressed, drank coffee standing at the kitchen counter, and headed to Walmart. The store greeted her with shimmering garlands and a Christmas tree twice as tall as a person. By the entrance, a Santa Claus with a wrinkled sack stood on duty, handing candy to kids. The checkout line stretched all the way to the far end of the sales floor. Claire grabbed a cart and moved through the aisles, checking her list. Potatoes, 3 pounds. Carrots, 1 pound. Beets, 1 pound. Eggs, 2 dozen. Imitation crab, 2 200-gram packs. Herring for the layered salad, 2 of them. Chicken, 2 large whole birds. Canned tuna, 2 cans. A woman rolled past with a cart filled to the brim. Inside were shrimp in a huge bag, salmon steaks, prosciutto, parmesan, avocados, mangoes. Claire watched her go and felt a lump rise in her throat. She could have bought all of that. She could have, if it weren't for those 6 people Nathan was dragging into their apartment without asking. In the alcohol section, Claire grabbed 3 bottles of cheap champagne for $1.50 each, 2 boxes of wine for $4, and 2 bottles of whiskey for $6. Victor would drink that, specifically. She remembered last time, the way he'd grimaced at bourbon. Ugh, that's garbage. Give me something real. At the register, Claire unloaded the groceries onto the belt, and the cashier scanned them with mechanical speed. The numbers on the display climbed. Claire stared at them and felt the last shred of hope for a beautiful holiday dissolve. "That'll be $128, the cashier announced. Claire dug into her purse, pulled out the envelope, and counted out the bills. $8 over. She'd miscalculated somewhere, probably spices and fruit. She left the store with 4 heavy bags. She tried to catch a cab for about 10 minutes. Drivers didn't stop. Everyone was rushing. Everyone was busy. Finally, one slowed down, helped her load the bags into the trunk. "Stocking up for the holiday?" he asked kindly, an older man with gray mustaches. "Yeah," Claire muttered, not wanting to talk. "I can tell. Today's my last day working, too. Then I've got 3 days off. The kids are coming, the grandkids. My wife's been cooking for 2 weeks already. The whole kitchen is covered in pots. I tell her, 'Diane, just buy it ready-made. Why torture yourself?' And she goes, 'What are you talking about? Homemade tastes better.' That's my wife. Pure gold." Claire nodded, staring out the window. She didn't want to hear about a pure gold wife. She wanted to get home, to silence, to a warm bed. But she still had cooking until midnight ahead of her. At home, she unloaded the bags in the kitchen, put everything away on the shelves. Nathan was still asleep. His shift didn't start until noon. Claire pulled out the cutting board, knives, pots, turned on the stove, and set potatoes, beets, and carrots to boil. She cut the chicken into pieces, marinated it in soy sauce with garlic, cleaned the herring. Her hands smelled like fish for a long time after, no matter how much she washed them. At 1 in the afternoon, Nathan wandered into the kitchen yawning, wearing only boxers and a stretched-out t-shirt. "Wow, you're already going full speed. Nice." He poured himself coffee, sat at the table, and stared at his phone. Claire was chopping onions for the coleslaw. Tears ran down her cheeks. "Nathan, can you peel the potatoes for the potato salad? My hands are busy." "Sure," he said without looking up. 5 minutes passed. 10, 15. "Nathan." "What?" "The potatoes?" "Oh, the potatoes. Listen, I won't have time. I've got to leave for work in half an hour. You'll peel them yourself." "I'll peel them myself," Claire hissed through clenched teeth. He finished his coffee, went to get dressed, came back 20 minutes later already in his work clothes, smelling like deodorant. "All right, I'm heading out. I'll be back at 8. Try to be done by then, because tomorrow we still have to set the table." The front door slammed. Claire was alone in the kitchen, elbows deep in flour and oil, with a mountain of dirty dishes in the sink and a to-do list that refused to shrink. She peeled the potatoes, diced them into small cubes for the potato salad, mixed them with carrots, peas, imitation crab, eggs, dressed it with mayonnaise, and put it in the fridge. She layered the layered salad, fish, onion, potatoes, carrots, beets, mayonnaise, into the fridge too. She made the coleslaw, marinated the canned tuna in lemon juice, put the chicken in the oven, sliced vegetables for a platter. By 8 in the evening, her back ached so badly Claire couldn't straighten up. The kitchen smelled like fried chicken, boiled beets, and mayonnaise. Her hands smelled like herring and onions. Her legs throbbed. She'd been on her feet all day. Nathan came back right at 8, hungry and pleased. "How's it going? Is everything ready?" "Almost." "Great. I'll eat and watch a movie. I'm insanely tired today." He reheated leftovers from yesterday's dinner and sat in the living room in front of the TV. Claire was finishing the Caesar salad, slicing chicken, mixing it with lettuce and cherry tomatoes. "Nathan, take out the trash," she shouted from the kitchen. "Later," came from the living room. Claire finished the salad, put it in a container, set it in the fridge. She washed a mountain of dishes, wiped down the counter, took out the trash herself, 2 huge bags that barely fit into the dumpster. She came back upstairs. Nathan was stretched out on the couch watching some action movie. Cars exploded on screen. Characters shot at each other. "Nathan, at least help me put the tablecloth on tomorrow, okay? And set the table." "Claire, I'll be home all day. I'll be tired. You're the homemaker. You'll handle it." Claire leaned against the doorframe. Her temples were pounding. She wanted to scream, throw something at him, wake him up, shake him, force him, just once, just one single time, to see her, to hear her. But she stayed silent, went to the bathroom, took a shower, stood under the hot water, and felt it wash away the smells and the exhaustion. But it didn't wash away the resentment lodged somewhere deep under her ribs. She went to bed at 11. Nathan came in at 1 in the morning, collapsed beside her, and a minute later, he was already snoring. Claire lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking that tomorrow, December 31st, would be a long day. The last day she could still pretend everything was fine. That she didn't feel like a servant in her own home. That her opinion meant anything at all. That her husband saw her not as a cook, but as a wife. But she already knew the truth. She knew it. And that truth burned her from the inside like swallowed coal. The morning of December 31st didn't begin with greetings and holiday excitement, but with a splitting headache. Claire woke up at 7 a.m., even though she hadn't set an alarm. Her body simply wouldn't let her sleep. Everything inside her was taut, like a string about to snap. Nathan slept with his arms spread out, snoring. Claire got up quietly, slipped on a robe, and went to the kitchen. She opened the fridge. It was packed with containers of salads. Tomorrow, all of it would be on the table, and Vivian would definitely say something like, "The mayo is kind of runny. I would have used a different one." Or, "The chicken's a bit dry. You should have baked it in foil." Claire poured herself coffee and sat by the window. Snow was falling outside. The city was getting ready for the holiday. String lights blinked on neighbors' balconies, and down in the yard someone was setting up a Christmas tree. And inside her, there was nothing. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "Good morning, Claire. We'll come at 6 p.m., like we agreed. I'm bringing my layered salad. Put it on the table right away while it's fresh. And put our champagne in the fridge so it chills. We're bringing 3 bottles. Dorothy will pick up a cake on the way, too. All right, see you tonight. Happy almost New Year." Claire reread the message 3 times. 3 bottles of champagne, a cake, and that was it. Everything else was on her. $430 and 2 days of work. On her. She replied shortly, "Okay," and set the phone on the table. Suddenly her head went very quiet. Quiet the way it gets before a storm, when the birds go silent, the wind dies down, and the air turns heavy. Claire stood up, went into the bedroom, pulled a suitcase out of the closet, opened the fridge, and started methodically taking out containers of food. Potato salad, layered salad, coleslaw, Caesar, chicken, canned tuna. A vegetable platter. Everything she'd cooked for 2 days. She neatly packed it all into bags. 4 big bags. She called a cab. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, the driver said. Claire got dressed, put on makeup, grabbed the bags, and went downstairs. Nathan still hadn't woken up. He could sleep until noon if no one woke him. The cab pulled up. Claire loaded the bags into the trunk and gave the address of her friend Jessica. "Taking this to a party?" the driver asked, a young guy with a neck tattoo. "Yeah, to a party," Claire answered. Jessica met her at the door in pajamas, a cup of tea in her hand. "Whoa, why are you here so early? And what is all this? New Year's food? Can I stick it in your fridge?" "Of course, go ahead. But what happened?" Claire went into Jessica's kitchen and started stacking the containers on the fridge shelves. She spoke briefly, without emotion, like she was telling someone else's story. "Nathan invited his family for New Year's without asking me. I cooked for 2 days on my own money. This morning his mother texted that they're bringing 3 bottles of champagne and a cake. Everything else is on me. So I decided, enough." Jessica set her cup down and wrapped an arm around Claire's shoulders. "So what are you going to do?" "I don't know. But I'm not feeding these people. I'm not smiling and pretending I like any of this. I want to celebrate New Year's normally. Can I stay with you?" "Of course you can. I've got 2 other friends coming over, Amanda and Rachel, the 4 of us. We'll celebrate properly." Claire nodded. Something inside her began to thaw. "Thank you." "No problem. It was about time someone knocked some sense into that Nathan. Hey, are you going to tell him in advance, or make it a surprise?" "A surprise," Claire replied, and a strange smile appeared on her lips. She went back home by 10 in the morning. Nathan had just woken up and wandered into the kitchen, yawning. "Where were you?" "Running errands." "What's for breakfast?" "Check the fridge." He opened the refrigerator. It was empty. Completely empty. Just a bottle of kefir and a pack of butter. "Claire, where's the food? You cooked yesterday." "The food is where it should be." "Where exactly is that? I don't see anything." "Then you're not looking very well," Claire said calmly, and walked into the bedroom. Nathan stood there in front of the open fridge, scratching the back of his head. Then he shrugged, took the kefir, poured it into a mug, drank it, and sat down in front of the TV. In the bedroom, Claire changed into a black dress, the one she'd bought on sale last year and never worn. She did her makeup, foundation, mascara, bright lipstick, war paint. She fixed her hair, sprayed perfume, and looked at herself in the mirror. Beautiful, determined, ready. She went into the kitchen, took the white tablecloth out of the cabinet, spread it on the table, set out empty plates, laid out the cutlery, placed the glasses. The table looked festive and completely empty. Nathan peeked into the kitchen. "What are you doing?" "Setting the table." "And where's the food?" "It'll be here soon." "Claire, my mom's coming at 6. Are you going to make it in time?" "I'll manage. Don't worry." He looked at her suspiciously but said nothing and went back to the TV. Claire sat down in the armchair facing the front door. She took out her phone and checked the time. 10:30, 7.5 hours until 6. She wasn't in a hurry. At 3 in the afternoon, Nathan came into the kitchen again. "Claire, why are you just sitting there? Maybe you should start cooking." "No need. Everything's ready." "Ready where? The fridge is empty, I know that. So what are you planning to serve?" Claire turned to him and smiled. Cold. Calm. "Nothing." Nathan froze. "What do you mean, nothing?" "That's exactly what I mean. There will be nothing on the table." "Are you joking?" "No." "Claire, what the hell? My mom's coming in 3 hours, the whole family." "I know. Let them come." Nathan stood there with his mouth open, unable to believe it. "Have you lost your mind? Do you even understand what you're doing?" "I do. For the first time in 3 years of marriage, I really do." He stepped back as if she'd struck him. "I'm calling my mom right now to warn her that you're sick or something's wrong with you." "Go ahead," Claire allowed. Nathan rushed into the bedroom, grabbed his phone. Claire heard him dialing, heard him say, "Mom, listen, Claire's acting weird. Says she's not cooking anything. I don't know, maybe she's having a breakdown or something. No, still come, of course, I'll figure something out. Yeah. See you tonight. He came back into the kitchen, his face flushed. Mom says you're an ungrateful hysteric and that I need to talk to you like a man. Go ahead, Claire said. I'm listening. Nathan sat down across from her, trying to pull himself together. Claire, let's talk normally. What's going on? Why are you acting like this? What do you think? I don't know. Tell me. Nathan, I worked until evening for 3 days, then spent 2 days cooking with my own money for your family, whom you invited without my consent. You didn't even offer to help. Not with money, not with anything. And this morning your mother texted saying they're bringing 3 bottles of champagne and a cake. 3 bottles. And I spent $430. $430, Nathan. That's 7 months of saving. 7 months. Nathan was silent, staring at the floor. And you know what? Claire continued, her voice growing firmer. I'm done. Done being convenient. Done being the homemaker who has to feed everyone and serve everyone. Done feeling like a servant in my own home. I wanted one evening, one single New Year's Eve alone with you, and you couldn't even give me that. But it's family. It's your family. Claire raised her voice, and Nathan flinched. Yours, not mine. I'm not obligated to feed them. I'm not obligated to spend money on them. If you love them so much, go into the kitchen and cook yourself, or run to the store. It's open until 10. $43 should be enough for you. Nathan sat there with his fists clenched, silent. Then he squeezed out, You ruined everything. No, you ruined it. When you invited them without asking me, when you refused to chip in, when you called me hysterical. You did, Nathan. Not me. He jumped up, knocking over the chair. You know what? Do whatever you want. I'm tired of arguing with you, but when my mom comes and sees an empty table, you'll explain it yourself. I will, Claire promised, and sat back down in the armchair, folding her arms across her chest. Nathan paced around the apartment, in and out of the kitchen, then into the bedroom, then back again. He tried to come up with something, but nothing came to him. At 5 o'clock, he got dressed and said, I'll go to the store, at least buy something. Good luck, Claire said. He came back half an hour later with 2 bags, cup noodles, frozen dumplings, sausage, bread. There, at least there'll be something. Claire looked at the bags and smirked. Yes, your mother will be thrilled. Nathan threw the bags onto the table and stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door. Claire stayed in the armchair, watching the clock. 5 minutes to 6. Just 5 minutes. She took a deep breath in and out. Her hands weren't shaking. Her heart was beating evenly. Inside, everything was calm, cold, and clear. Exactly at 6, the doorbell rang. Claire stood up, walked to the door, and opened it with the chain on. Through the peephole, she saw 6 people. Vivian in her mink coat with a huge bag, Dorothy with her husband Victor, Sean with his girlfriend Kristen in a sparkly dress, all dressed up, cheerful, anticipating the holiday. Vivian stepped forward, holding out the bag. Claire, open up already. We're freezing. Here, I brought my signature layered salad. Put it straight on the table. Claire looked at her through the narrow crack of the door, and then she calmly and clearly said the sentence she had been rehearsing all day. December 30 ended well past midnight. Claire lay in the dark, listening to Nathan tossing and turning beside her, knowing sleep wouldn't come. The same thoughts played over and over in her head like a scratched record. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Tomorrow those people would come. Vivian in her mink coat she'd bought back during the recession and worn like a crown ever since. Dorothy with her permanently dissatisfied face and her habit of poking her nose into everything. Victor, who would demand whiskey and tell crude jokes. Sean and Kristen, who would come just to eat for free. And all of them would sit at her table, in her apartment, eating food bought with her money, and not a single one of them would even say thank you. Because to them, it was a given. Claire owes it. Claire must. Claire is the homemaker. At 3 in the morning, she got up and went into the kitchen, opened the fridge. The containers stood in neat rows. $430, 7 months of saving, 2 days of cooking. Claire took out one container and opened it. Potato salad, neat cubes of potatoes, carrots, imitation crab. She imagined Vivian tasting it and saying, I'd use a richer mayo, and the peas are kind of small. She closed the container and put it back, went to the bedroom and lay down. Nathan wrapped an arm around her waist in his sleep, pressed closer. Claire carefully freed herself. She didn't want to be touched. Not by him. Not now. The morning of December 31st began with a nightmare at 7 a.m. Claire dreamed she was standing at the stove, cooking, while people crowded behind her, more and more of them. They reached for her, demanded food, shouted, "Hurry up, we're hungry. What are you, the homemaker or what?" She boiled, fried, chopped, and her hands were covered in burns and cuts, but she couldn't stop because they all kept shouting, shouting, shouting. She woke up drenched in cold sweat. Her heart was pounding. Nathan lay beside her, snoring, sprawled across the bed. Claire got up and put on a robe, went into the kitchen, sat by the window with a cup of coffee. Snow was falling outside, big, beautiful flakes. String lights glowed in neighboring windows. The city was getting ready for the holiday. And inside her, everything tightened into a hard knot. Her phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "Good morning, Claire. We'll come at 6 p.m. like we agreed. I'm bringing my layered salad. Put it on the table right away while it's fresh. And put our champagne in the fridge so it chills. We're bringing 3 bottles. Dorothy will pick up a cake on the way. All right, see you tonight. Happy almost New Year." Claire read the message once, twice, 3 times. 3 bottles of champagne. A cake. That's it. Everything else was on her. $430. 2 days of cooking. A sleepless night. On her. They were bringing 3 bottles of $2 champagne and a $5 cake. $11 for 6 people, less than $2 per person. Something inside Claire clicked, quietly, almost inaudibly, like a switch flipping off. She set the phone on the table, stood up, went into the bedroom, pulled an old suitcase out from under the bed, opened the fridge, and began methodically taking out the containers. Potato salad, layered salad, coleslaw, Caesar, chicken, canned tuna, vegetable platters. Everything she had cooked over 2 days, standing until her lower back burned with pain, she carefully packed into large bags. 1, 2, 3, 4. She moved calmly, without rushing. Her hands didn't shake. Her mind was filled with a strange silence, not anxious, but freeing, as if a massive weight had finally slipped off her shoulders. Nathan was still asleep, snoring, his arms spread out. Claire walked past him into the bathroom, washed her face, got dressed. Jeans, a sweater, a jacket. She grabbed her bag, her phone, ordered a cab through the app. Order accepted. The car would arrive in 12 minutes. She went downstairs with 4 bags, heavy, pulling her arms down. But Claire barely noticed the weight. Inside, she felt so light it seemed like she might take off. The car pulled up, a white Toyota, the driver about 40, with a tired face. "Need help?" He nodded at the bags. "Thanks." They loaded everything into the trunk. Claire gave him Jessica's address and got into the back seat. "Heading to a holiday party?" the driver asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. "Yes, to a party." "Looks like it. Today's my last work day too. My daughter called and said, 'Dad, wrap it up early, we're setting the table here.' It's nice when family's waiting for you, right?" "It is," Claire agreed, looking out the window. The city flickered past the glass, decorated storefronts, dressed-up pedestrians carrying gift bags, kids with balloons. The city was getting ready for New Year's, and there was something warm in all that bustle despite the cold. They pulled up to Jessica's building, an old 9-story block in a residential area, worn but with new windows. Claire paid, took the bags. The driver helped her to the entrance. "Happy New Year," he called as he headed back to the car. "You too," Claire replied. She climbed up to the 5th floor on foot. The elevator was out. She rang the doorbell. Jessica opened almost immediately, wearing reindeer print pajamas, hair messy, a cup of tea in her hand. "Claire, why are you here so early? And what's all this?" "Can I come in?" "Of course, come on." Jessica stepped aside. Claire entered the apartment, set the bags down in the hallway, exhaled, and sat right on the floor, leaning her back against the wall. Jessica sat down next to her and looked at her face. "Claire, what happened?" "Food. For New Year's. Can I put it in your fridge?" "Of course, but why did you bring it here?" Claire closed her eyes, then opened them and started talking. Slowly, without emotion, like she was telling someone else's story. "Nathan invited his family for the holiday. Didn't ask me, just said they were coming. 6 people. I wanted to spend New Year's just the 2 of us. I planned it, saved money for 6 months, $430. I wanted shrimp, salmon, prosciutto. Something beautiful, you know, like in the movies." Jessica listened silently, hugging her knees. And then he started talking about family, and everything collapsed. I recalculated the budget. For 8 people, my money only covered cheap food. I asked Nathan to chip in. He refused. Said he didn't have money, he'd set it aside for tires. Money for tires, but not for a holiday for his family. Do you get it? "Bastard," Jessica said shortly. "I cooked for 2 days, until 2 in the morning. Nathan lay on the couch watching TV. I asked him to help peel potatoes. He brushed me off. Said he'd be tired. Said he'd be home all day." Jessica swore under her breath. "And this morning," Claire continued, her voice growing firmer, "his mother texted that they're bringing 3 bottles of champagne and a cake. 3 bottles at $2 each and a $5 cake. $11 for 6 people. I spent $430. Silence hung in the air. Somewhere a faucet dripped. Outside, someone laughed loudly. "And you took all the food," Jessica said slowly. "Yes, I took all the food. Right now they've got an empty fridge, an empty table. And at 6 tonight that whole family will show up in their coats, expecting a celebration. And there will be nothing." Jessica suddenly laughed, quietly at first, then louder. She grabbed Claire's hand and squeezed it. "You're a genius. A damn genius." "I'm crazy." "No, you finally woke up. It was long overdue." Claire shook her head. "I don't know. Maybe I ruined everything. Maybe he'll hate me now. Maybe this is the end." "Or maybe," Jessica said gently, "it's the beginning. The beginning of your life, where you're respected, where your opinion matters, where you're not a servant in your own home." Claire felt a lump rise in her throat, but she didn't cry, just nodded. "Can I spend New Year's with you?" "Of course. Amanda and Rachel are coming too. My co-workers, the 4 of us. We'll celebrate properly." "With your shrimp." "There's no shrimp. There's imitation crab and canned tuna." "Still great. It's the company that matters. Come on, unload the bags. I'll make coffee. And you'll tell me what you said to Nathan before you left?" "Nothing. He was asleep. I just left." Jessica whistled. "That's a plot twist. So he'll wake up to no wife and no food. Claire, you're my hero." They went into the kitchen. Claire started taking out the containers and arranging them in Jessica's fridge. It was smaller, so some things had to go on the balcony. It was below freezing. They'd keep fine. Jessica made coffee, and the apartment filled with the smell of freshly ground beans. Claire suddenly realized she was hungry. She hadn't eaten since last night. She took a piece of chicken from a container and bit into it. Delicious. She really was a good cook. Too bad no one appreciated it. "You know," Jessica said, pouring coffee into 2 large mugs. "I've been watching you destroy yourself for 3 years, trying to please his mother, his family, him, becoming quieter, more invisible. I wanted to say something, but I was afraid. I thought you'd tell me to mind my own business." "I would have," Claire admitted honestly. "Exactly. That's why I stayed quiet. But I saw it. Saw how you changed, how the light went out of your eyes, how you stopped dreaming. Remember how you wanted to take makeup courses? And then suddenly you changed your mind. Why?" Claire shrugged. "No money." "No money? Or Nathan said it was nonsense?" Claire fell silent, because that was the truth. "He said it," she admitted quietly. "Exactly. He says something, you listen. He wants something, you do it. He invites guests, you cook. And when you asked him for help, he refused, because tires mattered more. Claire, that's not a marriage. That's slavery." "Don't say that. He's not a bad person. He's just used to his mom doing everything." "And now you're supposed to?" Jessica set her mug down with a soft clink. "That's not an argument. He's a grown man. It's time he learned to respect his wife." Claire sipped her coffee, looking out the window. Outside, it was starting to get light. A short, pale winter day. Her phone buzzed. "Claire, where are you?" Claire looked at the screen and slipped the phone back into her pocket. "You're not answering?" Jessica asked. "Later." The phone buzzed again. Another message. "Claire, where the hell are you? The fridge is empty. Where did you put the food?" Another one a minute later. "Claire, answer immediately." "He's panicking." Jessica smirked, glancing over Claire's shoulder. "Let him panic." "Are you going back?" "I don't know. Probably. My things are there, my documents. And it's my apartment too. We bought it together. The mortgage is in both our names." "Then you can kick him out." Claire snorted. "Easy to say. Where would he go?" "To his mom. She'll smother him with love." "Then let him go to his mom, if she's more important to him." The phone wouldn't stop. A call. Claire declined it. Another call. Declined again. A message from Vivian. "Claire, Nathan says you went somewhere and there's no food. What's going on? We're coming in 6 hours. You understand it's improper to leave guests without refreshments." "Oh, the mother-in-law has joined the chat," Jessica commented. "They're obsessed with what's improper." "You know what's improper? Coming over and demanding to be fed with someone else's money." Claire replied to Vivian briefly. "I'm home. Everything's under control." It was a lie, but she didn't care right now. "Jessica, can I stay here until evening? I don't want to go back yet." "Of course. Let's get ready together. I've got pretty napkins, candles. We'll set the table. It'll be beautiful." They spent the whole day together. Jessica took a white tablecloth out of the closet and spread it on the table. They set out plates, glasses, cutlery. Claire chopped vegetables for an extra appetizer. Jessica made cheese and grape canapes. At 3 in the afternoon, Amanda arrived, a plump, red-headed woman around 40, an accountant from Jessica's firm. She brought a bottle of good wine and a box of chocolates. "Happy New Year, girls." She kissed them both. "Wow, it's so beautiful here. Who cooked all this? I couldn't handle that much." "That's Claire," Jessica introduced her. "My friend. She has a talent for cooking and for standing up for her rights," she added with a grin. Amanda looked at Claire with interest. "Oh, wow. You'll tell us about it at the table?" "I will," Claire promised. At 5, Rachel showed up, a slim brunette around 35, a lawyer. She brought a salad in a container and 2 bottles of champagne. "Girls, I almost didn't make it. Traffic was awful. But I'm here. Happy New Year." They hugged and kissed. Claire looked at these women, strangers really, she was meeting them for the first time, and felt warmth spreading inside her. Here, no one demanded anything from her. No one expected anything. They were simply happy to see her. They set the table by 6. The containers of food Claire had cooked stood in the center. Next to them was Rachel's salad, Jessica's canapes, sliced appetizers, champagne bottles in an ice bucket, candles, string lights on the windows. Beautiful, cozy, warm. Claire sat at that table and thought that this was it, the celebration she'd dreamed of. Not with Nathan, true, but with people who were glad she was there, people who didn't demand, they thanked. "Claire, what are you thinking about?" Jessica nudged her with an elbow. "Come on, tell us what you did to your Nathan. Amanda and Rachel can't wait." Claire smirked, poured herself champagne from the bottle Rachel had brought, took a sip. Cold, bubbly, delicious. "All right, listen." And she told them everything. How she dreamed of a quiet holiday for just the two of them. How Nathan invited his relatives. How she asked for money and he refused. How she cooked for 2 days. How she got that morning text from her mother-in-law about 3 bottles of champagne and a cake. How she took all the food and brought it here. Amanda and Rachel listened with their mouths hanging open. "Are you serious?" Amanda gasped. "So their place is empty right now?" "Completely. And they're coming at 6? They've probably already arrived." Claire checked the time. It was 15 minutes to 6. "And what are you going to tell them?" Amanda asked. "Nothing. I'm here." Rachel let out a low whistle. "Wow, you're something. I couldn't do that. My hands would start shaking." "Mine aren't shaking," Claire said calmly, "because I'm tired. Tired of being convenient. Tired of serving everyone. Tired of feeling guilty for wanting something for myself." "And you're right," Amanda said firmly. "Men will sit on your neck the second you give them an inch. My first husband was like that. I cooked, I cleaned, I did laundry, I earned money, and he lay on the couch drinking beer. When I left, he called me for another 6 months begging me to come back, saying he was falling apart without me. I told him, learn to live on your own. And you know what? He learned. Now he has a new wife, and he helps her, because he realized if he didn't, he'd end up alone again." "And how is it now?" Claire asked. "Now it's good. My second husband is a gem. We split everything down the middle, money and house stuff. He respects me. He doesn't yell, he doesn't demand. That's how it should be." Rachel nodded. "I agree. I never got married at all, but I've been with a man for 5 years. We live separately. We see each other when we both want to. Nobody owes anyone anything. It's perfect." Jessica raised her glass. "Girls, to us, to never forgetting that we're worth something, that we deserve respect, that we have a right to our wishes and our own celebration." "To us," Amanda and Rachel echoed together. Claire lifted her glass, clinked with them, drank, and felt something inside her finally loosen. Her phone buzzed again. Nathan, calling. Claire looked at the screen, at the name that popped up. Husband. She thought for a second and answered. "Hello?" "Where the hell are you?" Nathan screamed. "My mom's already here, the whole family is here, and there's nothing to eat at home. Are you messing with me?" "No, I'm not messing with you. I'm celebrating New Year's." "Where? With who?" "At a friend's place. With her friends." "And what about me? What about my family?" "Nathan, what about me?" Claire asked softly. "Did you think about me when you invited them without asking? Did you think about me when you refused to give money? Did you think about me when you said I had to cook because I'm the homemaker?" Nathan went silent. "All the food is with me," Claire continued. "The food I cooked for 2 days with my own money, and I'm eating it with people who respect me. You can go to the store, it's open until 10, buy cup noodles, or dumplings, or the 3 of you can chip in for pizza delivery. $20 is enough for 6 people. Are you serious?" "Completely. Claire, my mom is crying. She says you humiliated her. She didn't feel humiliated when she told me I wasn't trying hard enough. When she demanded I set a table for 8 people with my own money. When she brought 3 bottles of champagne for 6 people. But it's family. Your family, not mine. and I'm done feeding them. If you want a holiday with them, organize it yourself. You've lost it. No, Nathan. I've finally come to my senses. Happy New Year. Enjoy. Claire ended the call, turned off her phone, and looked at the three women staring at her in awe. Holy crap, Amanda breathed. That's what I call backbone. You're a hero, Rachel added. Jessica wrapped an arm around Claire's shoulders. I'm proud of you. Claire smiled, for the first time that day, truly. Thanks. I think I did the right thing. You sure did, Amanda snorted. Let him stew in his own mess, and his mommy can finally realize her son is a grown man and needs to respect his wife. They sat for a long time, talking and laughing. Claire told stories from life with Nathan, funny and sad. How he forgot her birthday and only remembered at 11 at night. How on Valentine's Day he gave her a multi-cooker, the one he wanted for himself. How on their wedding anniversary he took her to a cafe, and when the check came, he said, "Let's split it." The women shook their heads, got outraged, supported her. Claire felt lighter with every word, like she'd been storing all of it inside for years, and now she'd let it out and became freer. At 11, they turned on the TV. A holiday special was on. Singers performed on screen, lights sparkled, hosts wished everyone happiness. Jessica opened the champagne and poured it into glasses. Girls, 10 minutes until New Year's. Let's make a wish. I want a promotion, Amanda said. I'm tired of being stuck at the same pay grade. I want a bigger place, Rachel admitted. My one bedroom is getting too tight. I want to finally take a vacation, Jessica said dreamily. I've wanted Italy for a long time. They all looked at Claire. And you? Claire thought, then said slowly, I want to be respected. I want my wishes to matter. I want to stop feeling like I'm obligated to please everyone all the time. And next year, I want to celebrate New Year's the way I want. With no pressure, no guilt, just the way I want. Beautiful, Amanda approved. The clock struck. They clinked glasses, hugged, congratulated each other. Claire stood by the window with her champagne and watched fireworks bursting over the city, bright, beautiful, festive. And she thought about how somewhere out there, in their apartment, Nathan was sitting with his family at an empty table. Maybe they ordered pizza anyway. Maybe they ran to the store and bought dumplings. Or maybe they just left, offended and hungry. She didn't care. She truly didn't. Because here, in this small apartment, with these women she barely knew, Claire was happy, genuinely happy, for the first time in 3 years of marriage. She lifted the glass to her lips, took a sip, and the champagne tasted like the best thing in the world. Claire didn't turn her phone back on until 1:30 in the morning. By then, she, Jessica, Amanda, and Rachel had moved from champagne to wine, eaten half the salads, and were laughing at old comedies on TV. The screen lit up, and a storm of notifications hit. 32 missed calls from Nathan, 16 from Vivian, 5 from an unknown number, probably Dorothy or Victor, 48 messages. Claire opened her chat with Nathan and started reading. Where are you? 6:03 p.m. Claire, this isn't funny. 6:15 p.m. Mom is crying. Do you understand? Crying. 6:27 p.m. We ordered pizza. Happy now? 7:10 p.m. Are you even coming back? 8:05 p.m. You know what? Do whatever you want. I'm done. 9:34 p.m. I'm sorry, please, can we talk normally? 11:48 p.m. Happy New Year. 12:01 a.m. Claire, come on, enough already. Everyone left. The place is empty. Come home. 12:56 a.m. Then she went to her mother-in-law's messages. They were exactly what she expected. Claire, what is this mess? Where's the food? 6:05 p.m. You humiliated the whole family. How am I supposed to look Dorothy in the eye now? 6:20 p.m. Nathan says you took all the groceries. That's theft. 6:35 p.m. You ruined the holiday. We sat at an empty table and ate pizza. Pizza, Claire. 7:45 p.m. I'm telling everyone. Everyone will know how ungrateful you are. 8:30 p.m. You're destroying my family. I hope you're ashamed. 10:15 p.m. Claire finished reading and smirked. She wasn't ashamed at all. If anything, she felt a smug satisfaction spreading through her. They sat at an empty table, ate pizza, felt awkward. Good. Let them feel, just once, what it's like when your expectations collapse, when you're not valued, when you're treated like a given. So, what is it? Jessica asked, leaning over her shoulder. A lot of angry messages? A ton. My mother-in-law is promising to tell everyone how awful I am. Let her, and you'll tell your side. We'll see who people end up believing. Claire texted Nathan, I'm staying at Jessica's tonight. I'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk. The reply came almost instantly. Okay, I'll be waiting. She didn't reply to her mother-in-law. She just blocked the number. Let her rant into the void. By 3 a.m, Amanda and Rachel headed home. They called a cab, kissed everyone goodbye, and exchanged numbers with Claire. Stay strong, Amanda said at the door. And don't let up. Men only understand strength. And if you need anything, call me, Rachel added. I'm a lawyer. I can advise you if it comes to divorce. Thank you, Claire said sincerely. She was left alone with Jessica. Her friend made up the couch for her, brought a blanket and a pillow. Sleep. You'll deal with it tomorrow. Claire lay down and pulled the blanket over herself. Outside, a few fireworks still popped here and there. Late, lonely ones. The city was falling asleep after the holiday. She lay in someone else's apartment and thought about how tomorrow she would go back home. And there would be a conversation, a serious, hard conversation that would decide the rest of her life. The morning of January 1st was gray and quiet. Claire woke around 10 to the smell of coffee. Jessica was already busy in the kitchen. Happy New Year again, she said, handing Claire a cup. How'd you sleep? Good. Thank you for taking me in. Anytime. Are you going home? Yes, I need to talk to Nathan. You know what you're going to say? Claire took a sip of coffee. Bitter, strong, exactly what she needed. More or less, I'll tell him this won't happen again. That if he wants to keep the marriage, he has to change. He has to start respecting me, considering my opinion, investing in the family not just with money but with effort. And he has to protect me from his mother, not put her interests above mine. And if he refuses? Then I'll divorce him. Jessica nodded. Good. Life is too short to waste it on people who don't value you. Claire got dressed, packed up, and hugged Jessica goodbye. Thank you for everything. You saved my New Year's. Oh, please, you saved yourself. I just gave you a roof over your head. Call me if anything happens, and keep me posted. I will. Claire called a cab. On the way home, she felt a wave of anxiety rising inside her. Her hands trembled slightly, her heart beat faster, but she had no intention of backing down. She pulled up to the building, went up to her floor, stood by the door for a moment, took a deep breath, and unlocked it. The apartment was silent. It smelled stale, with a sour undertone. In the kitchen, dirty plates, empty pizza boxes, and bottles were scattered across the table. Nathan sat on the couch in the living room, wearing a wrinkled t-shirt and sweatpants, unshaven. His eyes were red. Either he hadn't slept, or he'd been drinking. When he saw Claire, he stood up. You came back? I did, she confirmed, taking off her jacket. They stood facing each other in the middle of the room. There were 2 meters between them, but it felt like miles. Listen, Nathan started, rubbing his face with his palms. I didn't want it to turn out like this. I really didn't. It's just, Mom called and said she wanted to spend New Year's with us. I couldn't say no. You understand? I could, Claire replied calmly. You just didn't want to. How could I? She's my mother. And who am I? A stranger? Nathan fell silent. I'm your wife, Nathan. I'm supposed to come first. Not your mother. Not your relatives. Me. And you should have talked to me before inviting anyone. But you didn't. I thought you wouldn't mind. I did mind. I wanted to celebrate just the two of us. I saved money for 6 months, planned it, dreamed about it. And you erased all of it with one sentence and didn't even apologize. You just said, "It's family, they're coming." Like my opinion didn't matter at all. Nathan lowered his head. I'm sorry. That's not enough. I don't need words. I need actions, changes. Do you understand? He nodded. I do. Then listen. Claire went into the kitchen, poured herself some water, came back to the living room. I'm not putting up with this anymore. I won't cook for your family on holidays with my own money. I won't smile and pretend everything's fine when your mother humiliates me. I won't work myself to exhaustion while you lie on the couch. Nathan stayed silent, staring at the floor. If you want to invite guests, Claire continued, you ask me first, and you split the costs, or you handle everything yourself. If you want me to cook, you help. Peel potatoes, chop salads, wash dishes. You don't lie in the living room with a beer while I break my back in the kitchen. Okay. If your mother says nasty things to me, you stop her. You tell her it's unacceptable. You protect me. Do you understand what it means to protect your wife? Nathan looked up. His eyes were confused. I didn't think it was that important to you. It is very important. Nathan, when your mother said I wasn't trying hard enough, that I had to feed everyone because I'm the homemaker, what did you do? Nothing. You stayed silent, and then you even said she was right. You took her side, not mine. But she's my mother. And I'm your wife. Claire raised her voice, and Nathan flinched. Your wife should matter more than your mother and everyone else. That's normal in a healthy relationship. A mother is family and should be respected. But a wife is your family, your priority. And if you don't understand that, we have a problem. Nathan swallowed and rubbed his neck. After a pause, he asked quietly, What am I supposed to do? I honestly don't know. I wasn't taught this. Claire relaxed a little. At least he was trying to listen. Learn. I'm not asking for the impossible. I'm asking for basic respect. Take me into account. Ask my opinion. Help. Protect me. Invest effort instead of dumping everything on me. I'm not your mother. I'm not going to serve you. I get it, Nathan said softly. I really get it. I'm sorry it turned out this way. I was an idiot. You were, Claire agreed. But it can be fixed. The question is, do you want to? I do. He looked her in the eyes, and for the first time in a long while, Claire saw not irritation or indifference there, but something close to sincerity. I don't want to lose you. I realized that yesterday when you left. I realized I screwed up, that I behaved like an asshole. Mom, of course, chewed my ear off all night, said you're hysterical, that we should get divorced. And I just sat there thinking, who's actually right? Claire smirked. And what conclusion did you come to? That you are. You were right. I behaved like a jerk, and Mom did too. She only thought about herself, about her comfort, and not once about you. Exactly. Nathan stepped closer and reached out, but Claire took a step back. Too soon. Prove it with actions first. How? Start small. Right now, you go to the kitchen and wash all those dishes. Then you take out the trash. Then you clean the apartment. And I'll take a shower and get myself together. Nathan nodded. I'll do it. And call your mother. Tell her you were wrong yesterday for supporting her instead of me. Tell her that from now on, if she says nasty things to me, you'll stop her. And that coming over empty-handed and demanding a holiday table is disrespectful. Nathan went pale. She'll lose her mind. That's her problem. You choose, me or her. There's no third option. Silence hung in the air. Nathan stood there with his fists clenched. Claire could see the struggle inside him, fear of his mother versus the desire to save the marriage. Finally, he exhaled. "Okay, I'll call. In front of me." "What?" "Call her now, in front of me, so I can hear what you say." Nathan pulled out his phone. His fingers trembled slightly. He found the contact labeled Mom and hit call, putting it on speaker. Vivian answered after the third ring. Her voice was sleepy and annoyed. "Nathan, why are you calling so early? I'm still asleep." "Hi, Mom. Listen, I need to tell you something." Nathan swallowed and glanced at Claire. She nodded at him. "Go on." "Yesterday I behaved wrong. I shouldn't have invited you without Claire's consent, and I shouldn't have demanded that she cook and pay for everyone. That was unfair." There was a pause. Then Vivian exploded, her voice full of outrage. "What is this? Are you apologizing to me now? I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. Mom, that doesn't change the fact that I was wrong. And you were too. You came yesterday with 3 bottles of champagne and expected a full holiday table. That's disrespectful to Claire." "Disrespectful?" Vivian's voice jumped an octave. "I brought my signature layered salad." "1 layered salad for 8 people, Mom. Claire spent $430. Do you see the difference?" "She's the homemaker. It's her duty to set the table." "No, Mom, it's not. If I invite guests, I'm responsible for contributing. And if you come over, you either bring enough food or offer money. You don't demand to be fed." Vivian gasped. "Are you serious? You're taking that bitch's side?" "Do not call my wife a bitch," Nathan said sharply, and Claire raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Claire is right. She was right yesterday, and she's right now. You and I behaved rudely, and I don't want to act like that anymore." "Nathan, what's wrong with you? She's brainwashed you." "No, Mom. She opened my eyes. And here's the thing. If you keep insulting her, humiliating her, demanding the impossible, I'll be on her side. Always. Because she's my wife, and it's my job to protect her." Something unintelligible came from the phone. Then the line went dead. Vivian had hung up. Nathan lowered the phone and looked at Claire. "Is that enough?" Claire stepped forward silently and hugged him tightly, for the first time in many days. "That's enough," she whispered into his shoulder. That was the right step. Nathan hugged her back, burying his face in her hair. I'm sorry for everything. I'll really try. I'll be better." "We'll see," Claire said, pulling back. "Words are good, but I'll be watching actions. If in a month you're back on the couch and forget everything, I'm leaving. For good. Do you understand?" "I do." "Then go wash the dishes, and I'm going to take a shower." The rest of the day passed in a strangely peaceful way. Nathan washed the dishes, took out the trash, vacuumed the apartment. Claire brought back the remaining food from Jessica's balcony. Her friend had packed everything into bags and texted that the food was waiting by the door. They had lunch together, potato salad and chicken. And for the first time in a long while, Nathan said, "It's good. You cook really well." It was so unexpected that Claire didn't even know what to say. She just nodded. That evening, they sat on the couch watching some movie. Nathan put his arm around her shoulders, and Claire didn't pull away. A lot was still unresolved inside her, but at least there was hope now. On January 2nd, Nathan went to work, and Claire had the day off. She stayed home, sorting things out, cleaning, putting everything in order. Her phone was silent. Vivian didn't call, and Claire was grateful for that quiet. In the evening, Nathan came back from work tired, but he didn't collapse on the couch right away like usual. He walked into the kitchen, where Claire was reheating dinner. "Let me help. What needs to be done?" "You can set the table." He took out the plates, laid out the cutlery, poured tea. It seemed like a small thing, but for Claire it was a huge step. They had dinner and talked. Nathan told her about work. Claire talked about her day. An ordinary family evening. the kind they'd almost never had. "Listen," Nathan said, finishing his tea. "How about next New Year we celebrate just the two of us, you and me, the way you wanted?" Claire smiled. "Let's do it. But warn your mother in advance, like 2 months ahead, so there are no surprises." "I will, I promise." On January 3rd, Vivian finally called. Claire saw her name on the screen and after a moment's thought, answered. "Yes?" "Claire, it's me." Her mother-in-law's voice was cold, but without that hysterical edge. "Nathan explained everything to me. A pause, a heavy sigh. "I thought about it, and I guess you're right. We really didn't bring much. I just thought the hostess was supposed to handle it. Anyway, never mind. I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I didn't mean to offend you." It wasn't a real apology. There was no remorse in Vivian's voice, more a reluctance to argue with her son. But Claire accepted it. "All right. I didn't want a scandal either. But it can't happen again. I understand. Next holiday, Dorothy and I will chip in and bring more food." "Thank you. I'll expect it." The conversation was short and tense, but it happened, and that alone was already a win. That evening, Claire told Nathan, "Your mom called. She kind of apologized." "Really?" Nathan raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Mom apologized? That's rare. Guess it finally sank in." "It sank in, or you scared her enough that she decided not to push it." "Maybe, but the result is what matters." Claire nodded. She went to the window and looked out at the snow-covered courtyard where kids were building a snowman. Somewhere else, in another version of her life, she would have been sitting there worrying, thinking she'd ruined everything, that she was a bad wife, that she should have endured it, stayed quiet, adjusted. But in this life, she'd done something different. She set boundaries, said no, left when she wasn't respected, and came back when she saw a willingness to change. It had been scary, but right. "You know," she said without turning around, "that night when I was sitting at Jessica's table with shrimp and champagne, I was genuinely happy. And I thought, this is what my life should look like. Without humiliation, without obligations to people who don't value me. Just me and people who actually care." Nathan came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "I want to be one of those people." Claire covered his hands with hers. "Then keep trying." A week passed. Then 2. Nathan kept his word, helped around the house, didn't sprawl on the couch with a beer while Claire cooked, suggested they go out together, to the movies or a cafe. He asked how things were going for her at work, not just out of habit, but with real interest. Vivian stopped calling every day with demands. A couple of times she invited them over. Claire agreed, but warned she wouldn't stay long, and Nathan supported her. Life didn't become perfect. There were arguments, misunderstandings. Sometimes Nathan slipped back into old habits, and Claire had to remind him. But now he listened, heard her, changed, and that was enough. In mid-January, Jessica called and invited her over for a girls' night. "Amanda and Rachel will be there. Come over. We'll hang out and talk life." Claire went. The 3 of them sat in Jessica's kitchen, drinking wine and eating pizza. "So, how are things with Nathan?" Amanda asked, popping a piece with pineapple into her mouth. "Better. Much better." "He's trying." "Thank God," Rachel snorted. "Otherwise I'd have told you to get divorced. Guys like that should be shown the door right away." "I thought about it," Claire admitted. "Seriously thought about it. But he changed. He made it clear that I matter, and that means a lot." "The main thing is that it's not just for a month," Jessica noted. "Men are masters at promising and forgetting. We'll see. If anything, I know what to do." They raised their glasses. "To us," Amanda said. "To women who aren't afraid to stand up for themselves." "To us," the others echoed. Claire took a sip of wine and thought that this was her family, not by blood, not on paper, but the kind that's there when things are hard. that supports you without judging, that lets you be yourself, and that's worth a lot. On December 31st of the following year, Claire celebrated New Year's exactly the way she'd dreamed. Just the two of them, with Nathan. A table with shrimp, prosciutto, and salmon. Candlelight. Music. Vivian had been warned in advance and celebrated with Dorothy. She was offended, of course, but not for long. Claire invited her over on January 2nd, set the table, hosted properly. Her mother-in-law was satisfied. Looking at her husband pouring her champagne and smiling, Claire thought she'd done everything right. A year earlier, that New Year's night, when she opened the door on the chain and said, "Why exactly should I feed you?" She hadn't known what would happen next. She'd been afraid everything would collapse, but it didn't. On the contrary, it was rebuilt, stronger, more honest, more right. And when the clock struck midnight, Claire clinked glasses with Nathan, kissed him, and thought, "This is my holiday. Mine. Exactly the way I wanted it. Without pressure, without obligation, without guilt, just happiness." And she had earned it.